right. All right. So good evening, everybody. It is 7:05 and we are about to start our Parks and Recreations Committee meeting. It is August 16th, 2023. My name is Tracy McGraw. I am the chairman of this committee, and I will start over here on the left. We have someone new.
Josh Toms. Hello. My name's Josh Toms, new committee member. Am I good? Do I need to keep talking? All right.
Naomi Halter, school board representative.
Maureen Hall, Senior Representative.
Laura James, member.
And I'm Mackenzie Murphy. I'm the rep from the town council.
Matthew Brown, student representative.
Bill Parzinski, member.
Heather Fairbanks, new committee member.
Michelle Creswell, present. Member and secretary.
And Matt Kasparius, Director of Parks and Recreation.
And we are all very thankful Michelle is present because my notes are horrible. All right. So the first, let's see. There's no scouts or anything. Let's first go ahead and take a look at the meeting notes from last night, the minutes from last time, and get those approved. Did everybody get a copy of these? They're over here. Can you pass that down? Okay. All right. Have everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as presented.
Thanks, Phil.
Second.
Thank you, Laura. All in favor? Oh,
I have a change.
oh, hey.
I wasn't here. Lori Rothaus was here for the school board at that meeting.
That's what happens when you wait 2 months to do the minutes and send them back to Matt. That was on me, guys. Sorry. All right, so we'll switch that up. Thank you. Sorry, Naomi. Sorry, Matt. All right. Any other changes? Okay. Phil still?
Make a motion, accept the minutes as corrected.
Second, please.
Okay. All in favor? Mackenzie, you were here. Yeah. I got Mackenzie's.
Abstain? Yep. Abstain. Yep.
Sounds right.
Got a nice full house.
I know.
I like it.
This is amazing. You're
getting
getting younger and younger.
Okay. So as part of the new business, we'd like to introduce our 3 new members. I'd like to start with Matt Brown. He is our new student representative. Matt, thank you very much for signing up and for joining us, and welcome. If you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. My name is Matthew Brown. I am a rising sophomore at Merrimack High School. And I'm really excited to join this committee. It seems like a great group of people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We try to have fun. All right. And next we have Josh Toms over here.
All right. Again, my name's Josh Toms. I'm retired Army. I'm currently a police officer here in the county, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Thanks, Josh.
Good. Thank you.
And Mackenzie and I would like to say one more time that we are very sorry that we were ignored at your interview. We were there. We really were there. And last but not least, we have another new member back over here, Heather Fairbanks.
Hi, Heather Fairbanks. I've been in committees in the town over the years and done service for the town. And I guess my new passion is Parks and Rec and the dog park. So I'm very happy to be here.
We love having some extra help with the dog park. So we'll be talking about expanding our dog park committee too. So thank you. All right. So now we're going to jump into Matt. New business. We'll start with chapter 142.
All right. So, for the benefit of those that are new, every 5 years, the town manager asks all the committees to review the ordinances that are related to their committees. So we started back in, well, really in May, and then kind of had a discussion in June about some of the things that had been thinking about, changes that needed to be made. And so what I've done here is, this is our second kind of look at it. And what I'm going to do, and there is some copies up here. I don't know if I printed enough or not, but there are some copies up there, and you should be able to see it on your screens too, I believe. Can you see it on your screen in front of you? Yeah, okay. And so all the changes are marked in red. But what I'm going to do is kind of just go down through these, and then if we have questions as we go, just feel free to stop me, and we'll go from there. Before I start, the way this works, again, for the new people, is, we'll ultimately come up to what we think is a consensus. We'll vote on it, or I should say, you'll vote on it, with a recommendation to the town council to, review the recommendations, and then they will hold, I think it's usually 3 public hearings, if I'm right, Mackenzie? Yeah. 3 public hearings to review the ordinances. Obviously, I'll be present at those to explain the decision-making thought process. And then they'll get adopted or they won't. So again, this is kind of our second look at this from back in June. And I'm going to just start with 142.1. We didn't actually talk about this officially, but what I did here was just reorganize it. It was kind of like, and this field, and this, and this, and this. And there was no kind of rhyme or reason to the order anymore. And so all I did here in this first section is just organized them alphabetically. And so it kind of grouped stuff together that needed to be grouped, because it was just jumbled and all over the place. So that was the thought process there, but it wasn't any substantive change there. Moving down to fires, we talked back in June about further clarifying the definitions of what we allow for fires, which is our charcoal grills only, which we have at various parks in town. We don't allow, with the exception of, and it's a rare exception of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts when they're having like a camporee or something like that, we don't allow the public to have campfires in any of the parks. So what we've done here is obviously is just rewritten the sentence to specify in those charcoal grills only, so that it is clear. And again, feel free to stop me if there's questions or thoughts or other wording changes. Moving down, waste disposal. We added a new sentence last time, which was about household or construction related trash cannot be disposed of in park containers or dumpsters. It doesn't happen a lot, but it does occasionally happen. And if it's in the ordinance, then it gives us some enforcement authority. If we see, if we go into the dog park and the entire thing is full of construction debris or household trash, and we could find somebody's an envelope or whatever, we could go say, okay, here's a fine and go clean this up, kind of thing, or pay for the extra cleaning fee, or whatever. Right now, there's nothing in our ordinances that prohibits it. So that is the thought process here. Moving down, animals. We talked last time under 142.8 about the existing ordinance. Basically said they had to be on a leash or in a cage. Well, the in a cage seemed to be kind of a pointless thing to have in a park, because why would you carry your dog around in a cage? I don't know. So our recommendation here is to strike that piece. And then I kind of reworded the second part of the sentence, which just says, so they can be off leash when they're inside the dog park. The way it was worded before was a little wonky. Yes. I know that. And that's realistically, it's up to animal control to enforce it. Which at the moment, I'm not sure we have an animal control officer. I know they were recruiting at one point recently, but I haven't heard if they filled it or not. But again, at least if it's in the ordinance, then a regular police officer could also enforce it. The ordinance, if if there was a neat reason to, but yes, we know, and they do it at Wasserman Park too, and you know, we had that discussion about, back in the spring about, you know, I had that experience where I came down and somebody was trained, one person, 15 dogs by themselves. Oh, I'm doing dog training. Well, how do you have control over 15 dogs? You know, no, you don't. You know, and she's like, well, conservation allows it on their land. Well, you're not on conservation land, first of all, but that's a different issue. But, and we had talked at one point about maybe trying to put something in here about, an ordinance related to like dog training, but I couldn't find anywhere in among my network of colleagues of any town that had such an ordinance. And again, if they're supposed to be on a leash anytime they're in a park, then it's kind of a moot point anyway, I guess. So,
Quick question on that.
yeah,
So at the dog park, we do have, it's not an ordinance, obviously, it's just something that's written up there that people are supposed to read and adhere to and don't. But one person, 2 dogs max. Is there anything, I mean, where did that come from? Did we have an ordinance that said it? Can we use that to expand to recreational areas?
we could. Well, that ordinance, well, it's not an ordinance. It's a rules that was adopted by, well, it was recommended by this committee back when the dog park was getting ready to build. You know, we went to the council and said, you know, this is what we believe based on what other dog parks do, you know. Could we? I guess we could, but I don't know. I mean, it would have to get added to this. So I don't know. What are people's thoughts about? Do we, again, it's hard to enforce because who's going to enforce it anyway?
You have no control over 15 dogs.
I know.
I don't care how good those dogs
Yeah,
are.
I agree.
One squirrel that runs by, you're
I agree.
done.
So I don't know. What are people's thoughts about? Is there a need to say, you know, a person can only have X number of dogs, and is it 2 like the dog park, or is it, you know, I don't know.
How frequent a problem have you seen it being?
That's the first time it's happened. So
The only time I've seen it is actually in the dog park where we've had to have the discussion where 2 people came in with 6 dogs, all of which were a pack, acted like a pack,
right,
raced around the dog park like a pack, and attacked dogs like a pack.
right.
So that was a bit of a problem, but we were able to use the rule to stop it. But that's the only other time that I've seen it either. So
Right. But like I said, I couldn't find any other town that had any type of ordinance that specified, you know, number of dogs. And I mean, I could check with the town clerk. If there's, I mean, I don't know if there's families in town that have 4 or 5 dogs, you know, probably are. I just don't know how many. So I don't, you know, so it'd have to be, you get into this really gray area.
Are there any signs posted at Watson Park, like we have at the
There
dog
should be.
park? There's no sign?
There should be. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't looked recently, but
as
It's
far as the
becoming
number of
more-
dogs, I'm sorry, go ahead.
As far as, well, I don't know about the 2 dog minimum, but dogs on leashes and clean up after yourself. Watson, because it has become more and more popular.
I will add it to my list to look, because I'm not sure off the top of my head. If there should be a sign there, but whether it is or somebody ripped it down, I don't know. I don't make it, unfortunately in the summer, I don't make it far away from Wasserman and Avery Griffin Park are like my homes for the summer. Yeah. Okay, so I will look at that. Okay. So we can keep thinking about that certainly. But maybe we leave it as is for now. And
If it's only 1 or 2 incidences that happens,
Right,
it
you need
seems
to-
like it would almost be overstepping.
right. Right, moving down. We talked about no smoking in parks, and last time we talked about adding vaping and cannabis to the expand the definition. And there are no designated smoking areas in any parks anyway.
Should cover it.
So, but I think the thought process of leaving it, because it says except in designated areas, and we haven't designated an area, but potentially it could be some reason to do so down the road, I think was the thought process the last time this came up 5 years ago. But there isn't currently a smoking section, and there's certainly no ashtrays or, those outdoor ashtrays in any of the parks.
So I'm sure that you know, because you follow the legislature too, there was a lot of bills this year that were talking about different kinds of issues involving medical cannabis. Right now, they have a committee to determine whether or not to make cannabis legal. So that's down the road, just at least a few months. But this particular line here, is that going to pose an issue for medical cannabis?
Well, depends on what happens with the state law. Then we'd have to revisit it and change it if it did.
Just something to keep in the back of our minds.
Okay. Under section 13, access limited, it's always listed West Road for the ATV park, and I have no idea why, because especially if you ask those residents that live in that neighborhood, they will vehemently tell you that it is not access from that side. The proper access is from Lawrence Road, so correcting that. And that's how we have it listed, so I don't know why it was listed the other way, but anyway. And then we get into metal detecting, and this is a completely new addition to the proposed ordinances. We've been seeing this issue come up more often. We actually had somebody at Wasserman Tuesday that was digging in the softball field over next to the function hall, and I was kind of like, "What are you doing?" And so what I've done here and what we talked about last time was this ordinance is written based on the one that New Hampshire State Parks wrote or has in place. So it basically says, obviously the locations under under Parks and Rec jurisdiction. So along shoreline of the town beach, but they have to be 25 feet away from active play areas, so ball fields, outside of the playgrounds, the picnic tables. What we don't want, obviously, is a bunch of holes dug everywhere and left that causes tripping hazards and those kind of things. Most people that are like metal detecting are pretty good about it and will fill in their holes. But like I said, we've never had an ordinance, and it's been coming up more and more. We talked about not metal detecting inside the dog park. And one of the issues that we discussed back in June was there are some dogs, obviously, that get spooked by, somebody walking around with the equipment and whatnot. And so, let the dogs do their own digging, but, just more about a safety of a random stranger walking into the dog park full of dogs, might cause issues. And then the excess value, again, was just based on state language about, that they should report if they're finding, gold and whatnot. Not that I expect anybody ever will, but at least it's in there. So digging as a result, as long as holes are filled in, they can't go deeper than a foot. They can't dig at Watson Park at all. And that is because of what exists underneath Watson Park. And if some of you are new in town, it's a capped chemical site. And so there are places in there where the cap is only 12 inches deep. And even like when we do work over there, like when the pavilion was put in that Rotary built, however many years ago that was, or the volleyball courts were put in, like we have to get special permission from the state, and it has to be supervised and, plans and, whatever. You can't just have random digging. So, so we don't want it there at all. Obviously not the active play surfaces. And then if they do cause damage, then we're going to go after them for repair. I don't expect mineral collecting will be an issue, but you never know. And again, it was part of the state ordinance. And in this case, I'm deferring basically to the town council for somebody that's looking at something more intrusive, like that. And obviously not at geological sites, nature preserves, historic areas, which will kind of cover some of those kind of stuff too. So conservation land and whatnot too.
Question.
Yes.
Not to be overly specific, but
Yep.
Okay, so under the second red paragraph where it starts with metal detectors
Yep.
shall be permitted,
Yep.
are we saying active play areas meaning while
Um,
kids are on it, or are we saying areas that are in
that
that are being used?
that whole space. So they can't go dig in a field. They can't go dig inside the playground, whether there's anybody there or not. They can't dig in a playground, or can't dig in the middle of the soccer field, even if there's nobody there.
I can see someone actually thinking that the word active meaning
Okay.
that there are people there. And
Okay.
if there's nobody there, we can dig.
Okay, we can fix that.
So if we take out active play areas and or take out the word active.
Yep, we can do that. And that's why we do this.
And Matt agrees with me, so. Oh, I'm sorry.
I have another one. I don't know if this is nitpicky or not either. I was wondering why instead of just saying under digging under
Yep.
bullet point B about Watson Park, why we say due to the sensitive nature of the park and don't just say because of ground contamination.
We could do that.
Just because a lot of people might not know what sensitive means. And
Right.
I was wondering if there was a reason we chose to word it that way or if
It makes sense for someone who's new to town.
Yeah,
What do you mean it's sensitive? Well, it's sensitive because
yeah,
of this.
right.
yep.
There's nothing when the Watson family sold it to the town or handed it over to the town, there's nothing in there that requires us to keep quiet about anything, and Superfund sites are not secret.
Nope. No, our only rules with Watson is it's supposed to be a passive park, so we're never gonna build a soccer field out there or, organize sports like we have the beach volleyball, but it's basically pickup games. It's like I can't go run a volleyball league there as much as I'd like to, but I can't. So,
I see that in your future.
I'm sure, but that's, whatever. No, that's fine. We can fix that one too. Any other thoughts in that section? Okay, and then, because we were adding in a new section -115 for the metal detecting, then the violations and penalties section becomes -16. And we had the penalty and then cost to repair the damages. So it not only, there's some real disincentive of, it's not just, hey, you can get fined up to $1,000. It's, we want you to fix it too. I mean, we had, I'll give you an example. Was it last year or 2 years ago? One of the backboards, somebody hung off the basketball rim and shattered the backboard. Want to get the cost to repair that was $985. Our insurance is $1,000 minimum before insurance kicks in. So it was just out of the town budget, out of our maintenance budget. And so there was no insurance claim because it didn't meet the threshold. So we could potentially, if we caught who did it, we could go after them with a bill, and the fine, is the thought process here. Any other thoughts on that?
No.
Okay, so I will make those couple of corrections and then we can, I guess we need a vote, Tracy.
Yeah, okay. So everybody's had a chance to read and ask any questions with respect to the ordinance 142. Anybody have any further questions? Okay. Do we have a motion to accept them as amended as to what Matt's going to be putting in? Maureen, thank you.
Second the motion. Second the motion.
Okay. All in favor? I think that was a full, right?
I'm gonna abstain just because I have to come before the town council.
Okay. Good point. Thank you. All right.
Down there at the butterfly garden, one of the people driving the lawn was crashed into it, totally destroyed the wall.
Hey, Maureen,
Oh,
if you're talking and you want it in the notes.
Sorry, I'm talking to Matt. I said, did you see the garden, the butterfly garden? One of the workers from the town decided to, I guess, go 150 miles an hour, crashed into the wall, totally destroyed it.
I hadn't heard about that one, but we had something similar with probably the same employee at Wasserman this summer, and I don't think that seasonal employee is with the town anymore.
Oh, well, I don't, it's amazing.
But it was one of the seasonal kids. It wasn't one of the full-time
maybe
people.
they applied up
Anyway.
at Loudon.
At any rate,
All right, back to the agenda here. So, old business, dog park. I have some input from Christine, and we all would welcome input from Heather as well. As you can see from here, we still have a dog fund balance of $1693.59. We are hoping to plan for a cleanup for the fall. It would be nice to get the cleanup done before the first snow hits. It would be nice to be able to get a group of volunteers to come in. I know that there are certain town groups that come in and help us out, but we'd also really like to bring in the volunteers of the people that come and use the park to help us maintain the park, as most of this stuff is volunteer work. So the general, and I say every time, and Christine says every time, puppy potty bags are always helpful, always needed. Please scoop the poop. The dogs are really doing a great job of keeping it all to one end of the park. But it appears that the adults on two legs are not going to that end of the park to assist their puppies in removing said PCs. So
Chrissy,
a
I
little
can-
bit of help would be great.
I was just gonna add to that. A lot of people I've noticed don't want to go down to the end to pick up the poop because the grass is so high.
Okay, so we're gonna work on that too. We do need to get in there, and also the last time I was there, and it may have changed since then. There are some weeds that are growing up. There is some grass that's growing around it. Heather, I know, is probably there a little bit more often than I am, and I will give the mic to you in just a sec, and you can kind of fill us in. We will work on that. Hopefully, that'll be also part of the fall cleanup. We'll get a little help, maybe if there's any.
yeah. Well, we've been shorthanded all summer on our maintenance side. We are actually advertising for a part-time year-round maintenance position because the person we had has left, and so that's out right now. And so hopefully by early September we'll have somebody hired and can start working, and then we can jump into that.
So, to also add to the issues with the grass and everything, I do want to point out that we still have Mosquito Joe. Thank you very much coming out there and doing tick treatments. I had a couple of questions from some people recently where they were wondering what was being used for those tick treatments. These are natural oils they're good for the dogs. The basic gist here is that they'll come in early in the morning on a Saturday or Sunday usually, and early meaning even earlier than the normal early morning crowd. All you need is half an hour. That's it. It's not an all-day thing. You don't have to wait for rain or anything else. This is not dangerous for the dogs. If your dog happens to have an allergy, it's not going to be because of a chemical. It is not a chemical. So they are doing the perimeter. They're doing the inside of the dog park on both sides, and this takes care of ticks and mosquitoes. So we should be seeing a much smaller tick population. I haven't had any problems at all going to the dog park. Not recently. So, Heather, you at the dog park all the time. Do you want to add anything in here with respect to that?
A lot of people have been asking, are they going to come and spray? But the main concern is the tall grass, because even on the small dog side, they can only use half of the park because it's so overgrown that we've had dogs digging holes in, finding gophers and other animals to tend to. So that's the biggest concern, is the dogs are eating the grass, and it's getting overrun.
Matt, here's a question for you. We've done this before. I want to make sure that it's okay. And Mackenzie, obviously, you can chime in, please. People have brought in weed whackers and things like that. If they're their own personal weed whackers, and we're talking about not industrial size, but just residential size, is it okay to do that to help out if you guys are backed up?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I think that's pretty much it with the dog park.
Okay.
All right. And
Hey, it's back to
hey,
me.
it's back to Matt.
It's the Matt Show tonight. That's okay. We haven't met in 2 months, so it's been a busy summer. We're down to our final 47 hours, but who's counting? Until camp ends. I'm very much looking forward to it. It's always a good summer, but it's always a long summer. So when 6 o'clock on Friday comes, I'm usually very, very happy. So we had a good summer despite the rain. We had another record-breaking enrollment year. Last year, we finished the year with 1,049 registrations. This year, we are at 1,305. So a 20% increase over last year, which is great. And we would have been, even higher. And one of our challenges we had this summer was we sold camp out within 2 weeks. Basically, the entire summer was sold out. We had these huge wait lists, and we were waiting to get more staff. And we finally got the staff, and then we start calling people and backfilling slots, and that was all fine. Well, in June, payments are due 2 weeks before the session. That's what the town's refund policy currently is 10 days. And right now it's only a $10 penalty to cancel your registration. And so what we saw a lot of this year was they'd get to the first or second week of June and suddenly go, oh, I decided I'm canceling 8 out of my 9 weeks that I've been holding since January. And I go, and so then we start calling the wait lists and trying to backfill slots. And meanwhile, our wait list disappeared instantly because people had made other plans at that point, So one of the things we'll be talking about later this fall, I'm not sure which month yet, maybe September, maybe, I'm not sure yet, but at some point is looking at the town's cancellation policy and penalties and whatnot. Off the top of my head, I'm looking at something like May 1st is your deadline for camp, and it's like $50. And after that, you can get a credit only, or I don't know, I have to think about it a little bit more. But just to prohibit that, because again, one of the things that happened is I'm scouring the budget right now because we're getting down to the end of week 9, and when we started filling all these spots in May when we got all the staff, well, now I'm overstaffed. This week I've got more staff than I need, and now I don't have enough campers to fill it. So we're going to have to look at that and make a recommendation to the council to make some changes there, because again, it kind of burned us, and by that point it was 10 days just isn't enough time to backfill all those slots. So more on that later. Our camp is accredited nationally by the American Camping Association and has been since 1993. We, as I mentioned back in June, this year happened to be an accreditation visit year for us, which meant that I spent most of April, May, and June compiling about 700 pages of documentation for them to kind of look at and go, okay, yep, you have what it says it has. Okay, you're good. But they came out in July. And they were there for about 4.5 hours, and we passed with flying colors, perfect score. So we're reaccredited for another 5 years, which is good, and one less thing to deal with. So that's summer. Like I said, we got 2 days left, and then we move into after school, which starts in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow, in fact. So our new after school program will be starting when school starts on the 31st. We currently, as of this morning, had 21 kids registered. We're hoping to get to about 30. For the benefit of people at home that may be listening, right now we are doing busing from Thornton's Ferry only, and that's mostly because of the cost of bus transportation, which is about $35,000 for the year. So for that 1 mile journey. So our hope is once we build up the program a little bit more and get a little more financially stable, then we can eventually get a second bus to go to, Mastrocola, and then eventually to Reed's Ferry, as we progress. We're not there yet. We actually do have somebody from Reed's Ferry that's driving themselves and coming to our program just for the socialization, which is great. And that's fine too. So yeah, we'll be opening in 2 weeks. So we've got 3 staff hired at the moment for that program. Hannah, who's our camp director, is also directing the after school program. And then I've got 2 of my camp staff working with her. We are looking for 1 more person at this point, just so I can continue taking kids as registrations come in. So if anybody's looking for after school part-time work, send them my way. But yeah, we're looking good there. Busy summer as always. Our summer concerts have been going all summer long. Some of you may have heard the children's concert with the library out here before the meeting tonight. We have 1 more concert next week, which is August 23rd, which is Crescendo's Gate, which a couple of those people are from Merrimack. They were former high school graduates. And they were supposed to play back in June and got rained out. So they will be here next week. 4th of July went well this year. Our July 3rd concert ended up moving indoors due to threat of rain, and it was kind of the opposite of tonight. It said it was going to pour, and then it was beautiful. And then tonight it said it was just going to be cloudy and nothing, and it rained. But, whatever. We've been averaging about 200 people a night, which is up. Last year we were only averaging about 150. So nice increase this year. Had some good bands, and so that was all good. But July 3rd, like I said, went indoors, but had a packed room, a couple hundred people in it. We ended up with 67 groups in this year's 4th of July parade, which consisted of 1,139 participants in the parade itself. As usual, we had a lot of the politicians and including several candidates, as we usually do. And all went off without a hitch, other than the fact that it started pouring right as the parade was kicking off. But at that point, I was done, so it was okay, But no, people seem to have a good time with that. And then the skies cleared, and we had a great turnout for the fireworks. It was interesting because both Nashua and Manchester postponed that night, and so we were getting all the people from those communities, and so just massive amounts of people over there. But good show from Atlas as always, and so that was all good. Movie nights in the park. Our first one was scheduled for July 29th, but got rained out, like the rest of this summer. So we made it up on August 5th. We did Top Gun Maverick. The postponement unfortunately did hurt us, so we only ended up with about 30 people. Usually for an adult-themed movie, we usually end up about 100. But I think that was more the postponement than anything. Our next one is coming up on August 26th, and we're doing Minions: The Rise of Gru. That'll be at Wasserman Park, and it begins at 7:30. So that's a week from Saturday. And we do, as usual, we want to thank both the Merrimack Lions Club and Xfinity for sponsoring the series this year. And then we'll have 1 more movie at the end of September on September 30th, Saturday, September 30th, which is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. So then last, Tracy, you mentioned earlier about the slides at Kids Cove Playground. So as you know, or maybe you don't know, they were destroyed by a windstorm in December of last year. Now, these slides are specific to one manufacturer, and because they're a weird, unique height and supply chain issues, whatever, we got the first one in the end of June. The second one just came in a couple of weeks ago. And the challenge we have is we have to close the park for a couple of days to put them in. And, in talking to Public Works, the park is packed every day during the summer, so we didn't think it would be a good idea to close it now. So we're going to wait till school starts and then we'll close it for a day or two, depending on exactly how long it takes them. But we'll, announce it ahead of time so that people know and have, but at least if kids are back in school, it's a little less interruptive. So yeah, it just long lead time to get those back in. And then lastly, at Wasserman Park, we will be getting a delivery of playground safety servicing with the playground chips to top off what's there. They're coming Monday and then probably Tuesday next week, as long as the weather's good. DPW will be out spreading them in the playground. We've gotten a little low, but couldn't fix it until camp was over. So, but that'll be next week, and that's all I got.
All right. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. Where are we getting the playground chips from?
Durgan and Crowell. It had to go out to public bid because of the amount that we had to order. It was 160 cubic yards and
But
160 cubic yards, so it had to go out to public bid because our Durgan and Crowell was the low bidder at $3,400. The high going all the way up to one of the other companies was like $7,000. So
wow.
so Durgan and Crowell, who's in Hooksett, maybe they're somewhere in New Hampshire, ended up being the cheapest option for us. Cheaper than even the local town vendor.
Okay. And these are like the playground chips we talked about for. Okay.
Yep.
Phil, did you have something? Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions or anything for Matt?
Just since I haven't been here, what is the new materials we're using?
It's the standard. Right now, we're using just the standard playground safety chips. They're called engineered wood fibers. It's versus like it's not bark mulch, even though it kind of looks like it, but they're rounded edges versus pointed edges, which is what mulch usually is. It meets a certain it's called an IPMA standard. So if somebody falls from the playground structure at X height, as long as you have the correct surfacing depth, obviously it prevents injuries and that kind of thing. So we're still allowed to use playground safety chips for now. It's when we get into renovated, as I started to say at the beginning of the meeting, there's a new state law that passed a week and a half ago that basically says new playgrounds or newly renovated playgrounds have to go with this new, essentially like poured in place rubber, essentially, which is significantly more expensive. So when we get to Kids Cove renovations in a couple of years, the cost just probably doubled, if not more. So something for down the road. But yeah, these are the kind of the standard playground safety chips that you see at playgrounds now.
Okay. Matthew, do you have any follow-up? Okay. All right. So, miscellaneous updates. We have any, Matt?
I don't have anything else at this
Okay.
point.
All right. Organizational reports. So Rick's not here tonight, so we're not going to hear from MYA. Do you have any information from them or?
No.
Okay. All right. Let's go to Maureen for the Senior Citizens Club.
Yeah, I got a few things. Not everybody knows, but we're redoing the floors and all the rugs in the senior citizen building starting Monday. So it's really going to be a big change, and we should try to have an open house or something. We keep trying, but can't get anybody to open the house and come in. No. So they're going to do that in the next 2 weeks. So there won't be a meeting for 2 weeks. Plus it'll be Labor Day. So there won't be a meeting there. But when we come back, Meals on Wheels is going to give us a meal for the seniors on the 25th. We're planning for a fair on the 21st. This year we want to look for a couple vendors for our fair and kind of expand it, make it a little bit more spicy. And we're also planning our Christmas whatever we're going on. I didn't sign up
Maureen,
yet.
could
so-
you explain the fair? What does that entail for people who don't know what you mean there? What is the fair?
When is the fair?
What is the fair?
The fair is it's just a senior fair with a bake table, baskets, raffle baskets, and we usually have a lot of old antique stuff. This year we've tried to eliminate that. I'd rather have a yard sale separate from the fair. So we did it. A few of us got it. We did it. So we're going to try and see if we can have a few vendors. We don't have a big room. There's not a lot of room there. So we could have 4 or 5, but we've never done this before. So it'll be just a new thing to try. So,
Thank you.
okay. But going to have good food. Soups, pulled pork sandwiches. We've got chowder from Lobster Boat, and other people are making soup and chicken salad, and I'm in charge of the bake table. I make great pies. That's
So, quick question for anybody who's listening. What kind of vendors are you looking for?
we don't know. We just first come, first serve, I guess. You know, we just really don't know. I know of one person, but I think we can only have like 5 people there
Okay.
because it's a small area. It's not like and you usually want a big table for a vendor, you know. I know what is the church? The Knights of Columbus have that big fair at the school. So we could never do that, but it would be fun to have a few different things, like for older people, like gymnastics. No, I don't think so. Jungle gyms, no. But if you know anybody, come to the senior citizens. I don't know who you're going to contact because everybody wants to say, you do it, you do it, you do it. So, but you can show up at a meeting and we can book you.
Okay. All right. Next one, Naomi for school board.
Hello. As Matt alluded to earlier, the first day of school is Thursday, August 31st. It's a staggered start. So if your child is starting at a new school for the first time, if they're in kindergarten, 5th grade, 7th grade, or 9th grade, they go in at the regular time. And everybody else who's already been at that school before has a 2-hour delay. Then there's school the following Friday, and then the Monday, September 4th, is a day off for Labor Day. And then we hit the ground running with regular schedule. And all of the schools, or most of the schools, have various open houses and meet the teacher things scheduled over the next couple of weeks. If you're a parent and you haven't seen something about that, I would advise you to call your child's school, because I've seen them for most of them, and there's too many to say here. Bus routes are usually posted like a week or so before school starts. I haven't heard a firm date for that, but I do know that they're still working on some of them. And the bus drivers had their startup meeting today, and they're going to be doing practice runs of their routes over the next week or so. So you'll start seeing buses around town. And then for the school board itself, back in June, because we haven't met in a long time, we had our annual day-long strategic goals meeting with a representative from Primex facilitated it, and the school board was present, and the members of the administration team were present, and we kind of went over what our goals were for the previous year and talked about how we did on them. We did a lot last year. I don't want to bore you all with all of the details, but we did a ton to advance the goals that we set last year. There's still some room for improvement, because there always is. So we ended up kind of refining a couple of our goals, keeping a couple of them on the books, and then adding one more. And just the broad strokes, we have goals related to culture, like workplace culture and culture at the schools, and like the atmosphere for students. We have goals related to instruction, specifically improving test scores and making instruction even more responsive to student needs and individual students. We have goals related to our facilities and making sure they're the best that they can be. We have goals related to the high school especially, and improving our graduation rates and offering alternative ways for high school students to get the credits they need to graduate, so that we're not letting anybody fall through the cracks. And then the newest goal we added this year was with respect to communication, especially with the community. And we want to look at and streamline and make as effective as possible the methods we're engaging with the community and how we're getting the word out there about everything we need to communicate.
Wow.
It's been a lot. It's really exciting.
It sounds amazing. It really does. It wasn't like this when my kids were little. Okay.
It wasn't as much like this when my son started school. He's going to 7th now, so we're even like, yeah.
Yeah, I can remember at the end of the night when my kid went to bed, going through the backpack looking for the notes from the teacher, so I knew what was going on. But that was also pre-computer, back in the Stone Age. So, all right, Matthew Brown for student representative.
Okay, so like Naomi said, school's starting on the 31st. For the high school, that means freshmen will go in at the normal time. Sophomores and upperclassmen will go in on a 2-hour delay. The classes of 2026 and 2025 over the summer have each held fundraising car washes for their student councils. The class of 2025 will be holding another car wash on August 19th from 12:30 to 5 at Burger King on Continental. Sports tryouts have already begun. I think volleyball, football, and soccer. Band camp is starting on the 21st for marching band, getting ready for the football season. The theme this year is Wicked. Homecoming will be on September 16th, which is very early. We'll be student councils meeting on the 11th to start planning for that. And then there is a continued need for additional field space for both sports and for band.
Matthew, we have been needing field space for a long time. But keep asking, because someday somebody is going to be able to donate it or something. Have that at the top of your list all the time. You'll hear Rick Grenier from MYA asking the same thing every single month. All right. Mackenzie from Town Council.
Thank you. So town council will be meeting tomorrow night. And Matt is on the agenda for tomorrow night.
Does Matt know?
I think it's donations acceptance.
Yes.
So they don't usually have me attend those. Not that they've told me, but yeah, it's acceptance of scholarship funds.
Yeah.
That were donated to the Camp Scholarship Fund. And
Two donations from Scouts.
that's right.
One of them is for Wasserman Park and the other one is for the Veterans Park. So we'll be voting to approve those at that meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, so some of the Eagle Scouts that have finished their projects, they had surplus funds, so they donated it back to the park where they did their project.
That's
and,
wonderful.
And so we've got between the I think there'll be, once these are approved, we'll have, I think there's 3 or 4 parks, but it's $600-700. So future maintenance needs or whatever, we'll identify and use for it.
That's great. I didn't even know that happened. So that's great. Thanks for letting us know that. All right. Comments from the public? You all set? Does anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, Maureen.
Can I make a plug for the Humane Society, National Humane Society?
I'm okay with it. Maureen, you got to push your button first, though.
I hate that button. They're having their annual Wags to Whiskers, and this year it's back at Budweiser. Thank God. It was in Litchfield, and it was awful. I mean, sorry, Litchfield, but it was very dusty, dirty, and Budweiser doesn't have a big band playing that weekend, so we get to have the field for our Wags to Whiskers and have dogs to be adopted down there and all kinds of food. And it's an enjoyable day. I'll be there. My job is to put adoption signs on the dogs that get adopted. It's my favorite thing, adopted. So let me see some faces down there that I know.
I've been,
You can bring your dogs.
What was the date of this?
What was the date, Maureen?
What was the date?
The date, 16th of September.
So after homecoming, you come and adopt a dog. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. If we have nothing else, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right.
Okay, well-
Second. Yay, Matt.
Real quick before we vote, next meeting is going to be September 20th. So bring all your adopted dogs. On the leash.
On a
That's
leash, no
right.
more
Or
than
in
two.
a cage.
No more.
Okay, so we have a first and a second. All in favor of adjourning.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:59.
Yeah, baby.
Just saying.